the grass. ACWD requires any pavers, bricks, or flagstone known as hardscape to be permeable so water passes through to the plantings. Only drip irrigation is permitted if irrigation is needed at all. Now, why should homeowners give up their lawn? On average, a homeowner can save more than 43,000 gallons of water annually by converting a 2,000 square foot lawn to a drought-tolerant yard. For additional benefits, there is also less maintenance with no need for mowing, no fertilizers and pesticides, and lower ongoing expenses since there's no need to purchase chemicals. While the customer benefits, so does the community. Converted to drought tolerant, a yard generates less waste for landfills, reduces greenhouse gas emissions, and fertilizer pesticide runoff that winds its way into the watershed and the San Francisco Bay. And when I first moved to the Bay Area in 2009, my now ex-wife wanted a lawn. And I was like, no, I don't want a lawn because, I don't want to actually have to plant one and get all the sod and all that. But then also, I'm like, hey, we're living in California, and lawns take water and exactly all the reasons that I just mentioned. But nope, she wanted a lawn. Although it's not that big of a lawn. It's a very small lawn, and it ended up being a good thing because now, before, my dog used to get really dusty when he went in the backyard, and now he doesn't. And had we put mulch in the backyard, that would have been something that would have also caused my dog to be even more dirty than he typically gets. So that's my one reason for keeping a lawn. But my front yard, on the other hand, no lawn at all. It's basically just dirt and a couple of native plants. Good. Okay, on to the next thing, and that would be the late, great Robin Williams.
Should we blame the masses? Should we blame the fire? The doctors who allow them to expire? Heck no! Canada! With all their hockey hullabaloo and that bitch
Robin Williams. There is a tunnel north of the Golden Gate Bridge. It has rainbow arches, and that might be the tunnel to honor the actor and comedian Robin Williams, who became famous while wearing rainbow suspenders. That's the wish of thousands of people who, 8 days after Williams' suicide at his Tiburon home, had electronically signed a petition on change.org. The twin tubes which carry Highway 101 drivers through the Waldo grade toward Sausalito have become a landmark featured in Dirty Harry and other films. But few people know their namesake, William Waldo, a Whig Party candidate who ran unsuccessfully for governor of California in 1853 after being drawn west by the gold rush. Robin Williams called Marin County home, and the online petition's creator, Julie Wainwright, said changing the name of the tunnel would honor the very important citizen and world-renowned entertainer. She wrote that the name would help North Bay residents and the visitors remember the joy that he brought to the world. Waldo can keep the grade, but let's give Robin Williams the tunnel in commemoration of the hole he bored straight to our hearts, said one petitioner. A Caltrans spokeswoman, Leah Robinson Leach, said that Williams had brought great joy throughout the world, while noting that such proposed name changes on roadways are required to go through a legislative process for authorization. Robin Williams attended Redwood High School in Larkspur and studied theater at the College of Marin before he was accepted to the prestigious Juilliard School in New York, where he graduated in '76. 2 years later, he landed a starring role in Mork and Mindy, which was a spinoff of a character he had on Happy Days, who famously wore rainbow suspenders. Williams spent his final years at his Tiburon home, where he was struggling with depression and dealing with the early stages of Parkinson's disease.
Got a lot of free time, I don't know what to do. I haven't got the blues yet, but I'm definitely down. I feel like I'm at Kelly, you know that.
That's Loudon Wainwright III. And according to Judd Apatow, Loudon feels like, quote, somebody you want to know. He's insightful, brutally honest, and not afraid to be hilarious, vulnerable, and emotional. And you can find Loudon in a couple of Judd Apatow movies, including 40-Year-Old Virgin, where he plays the minister that marries the Steve Carell and the Catherine Keener characters. Gosh, I remember a lot of things off the top of my head. All those qualities are on display on Haven't Had the Blues Yet. We just heard a little bit of that song. And that is Loudon's 22nd studio album. And according to the New York Observer, he was interviewed recently, and they asked him, how many of your songs are rooted in truth and how many are pure fiction? He says, it's usually 80-20 truth to fiction. Some of the songs I write to order. For example, 5 years ago, the television show Justified was about to start, and I heard they were looking for a song. I Googled Harlan County, Kentucky, where Justified takes place, and read about how it was dry there, as in no alcohol allowed, except for one city called Cumberland, and wrote the song. They rejected it, of course, which happens all the time, but it wound up on this new album. They asked him, your first acting credit was as the singing surgeon on MASH. How did you get involved in the show? Loudon says Larry Gelbart happened to see me performing about 40 years ago at the Troubadour in Los Angeles. He liked what I was doing with my funny songs, so he got in touch with my then manager and pitched this idea of me being the singing surgeon. I did 3 episodes of MASH, and at the time it was a big deal since it was the most popular show on television. It will be in the first paragraph of my obituary for sure, he says. It'll say, the singing surgeon from MASH dies. They also asked him, you have the distinction of being the musical guest on the 5th ever episode of Saturday Night Live with Robert Klein as host. Do you know who the other musical guest was? Loudon says, in those days, there were 2 musical guests, and ABBA had just won the Eurovision Song Contest, and nobody in America had heard of them. I remember standing at the side of the stage with John Belushi during their performance, and he was kind of slathering over one of them, the blonde, I think. Well, we both were. I had met Chevy Chase and John Belushi before because I'm an old friend of Christopher Guest, who worked with them on National Lampoon's Lemmings and on The Radio Hour. And, you know, Christopher Guest later would be on Saturday Night Live. He also goes on to say, I remember that during the after party, we were sitting in somebody's apartment and Lorne Michaels was excited about the ratings. And I remember him saying about the show, this might work. Once again, that story from the New York Observer, the Robin Williams story from the Post at postnewsgroup.com. The article about no more grass being grown in California, and by grass I mean the stuff that comes out of the ground that golfers like to walk on. That's from What's Happening Tri-City Voice, and the article about the Oakland landlords being completely out of control, that is from the EastBayExpress.com.
As for my composure, that's in the lost and found.
As we go outside of the last place on Earth, located somewhere in Podcastro Valley, California.
And here's today's podcast picture.
We were talking about the drought a little bit earlier, and in the picture today, in the drawing, we speak about the drought. Actually, we got a little bit of rain here in California today, but that picture features this guy in it.
Hello there, Mac. I make the root beer. I'm the brewmaster. Oh, boy.
And we're being rained on in the picture there, and Basil the Boxer's in the picture too.
Oh, that's who that was. I thought it was some really ugly sort of person with bad hair problem. I'm the brewmaster. Oh, boy.
Yeah, well, it wasn't. It was Basil the Boxer. But, you know, hair is a funny thing. It just, it'll grow where it wants sometimes, and it's not that pleasant, that fact. But next show, we're going to bring you a very fantastic, wonderful band that hails from this area here in the East Bay, Oakland, Berkeley. They are called String Quake. And I saw them recently at this cool thing that happens in Oakland called First Fridays, where they have a bunch of bands playing. And they are going to be on the show We'll hear some of their awesome original instrumental work, and we will hear from Chely Shoehart, Floyd the Floorman, and John Deere the engineer.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST.com. Email Mike now at MIKES-DAILY-PODCAST@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye.
Mike, I'm not a big fan of the new girl, Day.
Why don't you like the show?
Day's got that girl on it that's brand new, and I don't like her because I don't like new things, Day.
It's got Zooey Deschanel. She's beautiful.
Oh, yeah, I like her.
Even Basil the Boxer likes her.
What?
Oh, my mistake.